Hello everyone, it's Maëlys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm just going to talk to you about my favorite books of 2019. So that's a very exciting video and I'll just get into it straight away. I don't really have an order of preference for books I liked most from one. Well, I have one book that I like the most. But other than that, I just separated them between contemporary books and SFF books. I also want to make a few honorable mentions of books that I really loved but didn't quite make the top 10. So these are The Fever King by Victoria Lee. This is the type of dystopia I want to see more of. You should check it out. I think I might do a series review of The Fever King and The Electric Air when the second book comes out, but we'll see. Then I have The Right Swipe by Alisha Ray. This year was really the year of romance for me. I really enjoyed a lot of romance books and this one stood out to me as one I really loved. And then we have The Rise of Kyoshi by FCE. I was surprised that I'm mentioning Kyoshi again and again on my channel. No, because I fucking love Avatar. Here we are. Okay, let's move on to my favorite contemporary books of the year. So the first one I want to talk about is Death Prefers Blondes by Caleb Roehrig. And this is a contemporary heist story where this group of teenagers who are very close and very good friends. It's a very huge found family trope that I fucking love. Kind of dress up in drag to go and do heists and rob rich people. So we love seeing that. I honestly enjoy this book so fucking much. And I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I didn't expect to get attached to the characters as much as I did. They're all my little queer children. Like, I will protect them. I am a single mother of, I don't remember how many of them there are, but I am a single mother of LGBT teens. And here we are. But I also love the main character because she had so much angst and revenge and just bitterness at such a young age. I mean, I think they're like 18, but anyway. And I just love her very much. She just gets things fucking done no matter what, but also she wants to protect her friends and the people around her, and she is very loyal to them and they're also very loyal to her. And I just loved it very much. This was also a very diverse book, and you know, it's not just your white queer story, it's actually a queer story with people of color in it. Woo! Wow, amazing. Can you imagine there are queer people of color in the world? I couldn't have known. Moving on from that, the next book I want to talk about is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This book made me spiral, and I know a lot of people don't like it and I get why they don't like it. And I think with this book you either really dislike it or you either really love it and will sell your soul for people to read it. And I just love this book so very much, and there's just so many things in it that felt so impactful and relatable. I think that Mary H.K. Choi writes such real and raw characters. These are characters that I don't think, they're just in this book and they exist solely in this book. I feel like they're real people who are out there in the world and that I could meet any day. And I just love them very much. I love Penny with my whole heart. I think that she is obviously like a very flawed character, but that's also what makes her so unique, and why I love her so much is because she's, you know, she has a lot of things to work on, and I think we all have a lot of things to work on. I also really loved the relationship in this book. If you don't know what it's about, Emergency Contact, we have this girl going off to college, and one day she meets her roommate's relative. He's technically her uncle, but he's like still very young. Like, it's not like a weird age gap situation. So they meet and like she finds him attractive and that's it. But then one day she kind of finds him while he's having a panic attack just in the street, and she helps him out, and from then on they exchange numbers. and they kind of start talking and becoming friends and maybe a bit more. And I think it just explores a lot of topics. There's a very important discussion on microaggressions from friends and what it means, and how Penny is trying to handle that because she's fucking tired of it, you know. And it's just a lot of good stuff packed together, and I just really loved it. It made me spiral a bit just because there were like points where it hit a bit too close to home, but I definitely want to reread it at some point next year just because I just want to take it all in again. And there were so many lines that like hit just right, and I don't know, Maëlys Choi's writing is just really doing it for me this year. Then we have Hold Me by Courtney and Milan, my favourite romance book of the year. I love this a whole lot. This book is just a love to hate, but also a hidden identity romance. Let me explain. Basically, we have our main two characters, and they know each other online and they talk to each other online, and they've been friends for I think like a few years, or a couple of years at least. They've been talking and they've kind of had this connection, and both of them kind of feel like, oh, maybe if they knew each other then they would like maybe have a thing, but they don't really do that. They don't know each other's real names, they just go by their online nicknames. But then, in real life, our male main character is an asshole to the female main character, as happens in romance books. And he's being a sexist asshole, and so they hate each other. Her for good reasons, him just because he thinks that she's distracting her brother, who's his friend as well. And so they're on very bad terms in real life, and then they kind of navigate both this real life relationship and this online relationship. And it's just the contrast between the two and how they tell each other the stories of the things that happen in real life, but in a way that they can't like connect the dots. It's just, I just really love it. It talks a lot about women, and especially women of color, in science, and how, you know, for our main character, it's really hard for her because she is a very feminine woman, and she's very proud of being a feminine woman. And the way that she's being dismissed by men in science because of that, and also by our male character, you know. I've forgotten their names because I'm trash, but like I do really love this book. I swear, I have a bad memory. Obviously he's got like a tortured past, but he does really like grovel and make up for how much of an asshole he was to her, and it just makes sense that they get together because I just love them very much. And I just love this book very much. So, please read it. Okay, then the last contemporary I'm going to talk about is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. At this point, everyone knows what Red, White and Royal Blue is about. I can't even talk properly, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But obviously this was a very hopeful book to read, and it just made me very happy. I don't think I've cried so much because of like happiness and feeling so like grateful for a book before, so I think that is definitely gonna stay one of my favorites for a very long time. Okay, now moving on to science fiction and fantasy. The first book I have is The Calculating Stars by Robinette Kowal. This is a alternate history set in the 50s where it's basically a hyped up space race, because now humanity needs to go to space because a meteor has hit the Earth. So they are kind of opening up their space programs a bit more than it actually was in the 1950s. And so we are following one of the computers who did maths at NASA, but I mean, here it's not NASA. But yeah, you know what I mean. And basically she used to be a pilot during World War II, so she wants to become the first lady astronaut, and we kind of follow her struggle. through this process and how it's going down for her. And so it's definitely showing all her struggles and the discrimination she is facing because she is a woman trying to become an astronaut. But it's also definitely showing her privilege because she is a white woman trying to become an astronaut. And so we also see the struggles of women of color trying to get through the door as well, and her privilege gets just checked and checked again. There's a lot of discussions about environmental issues as well. There's this one scene where she is explaining how the meteor is going to impact climate on Earth. And, you know, it's just this room full of politicians who are all white men, and no one is taking her seriously. So her husband has to step up and kind of explain again what she said, but she's the one who's better at maths. And it's just incredible. It's so well done. The relationship between Elma and Nathaniel, I don't care about married couple in books, but they are my fucking OTP, like maybe the one straight white couple that has rights. They are so good together. Nathaniel is such a good, supportive husband. He is an angel, and I just love him so very, very much. And I love Elma so very, very much. She also suffers from anxiety, and I think that's one of the anxiety representations that I've related to the most. And I just love her a whole lot. She's such a good being, and she's just trying her best, but she makes so many mistakes. And I think this book really shows that she's not a bad person, that she's trying. But it's not because you're a good person that you're not gonna do things wrong. So yeah, I just love this book a whole lot. Then we have Jade City by Fonda Lee. I loved this concept in this book so much. This is kind of a mafia gang story, but with magic. And basically, if you wear jade in this world, it kind of gives you enhanced strength and powers, kind of. But only certain people can wear jade without going crazy. So if you are in the jade gangs, you're kind of very powerful and respected in this world. But there's just so much going on. There's a lot of political shit going down. There's also like this big discussion on war heroes and how they are treated and how they are kind of this on this pedestal. And I think that was so interesting because in this there was like an independence war type of thing in the past, and so this is how the Jade leaders kind of came into powers, because their grandparents were very powerful men in the resistance, in getting independence for their country. And I don't know, it was just so good, so well done. Also, the sibling relationships in this book are amazing, beautiful. I will die for all these characters. I love them so much. They're all so complex and flawed, and just I love them so very much. And I kind of had a crisis when I was like, maybe Halo's kind of hot. Like, why am I into this hot-headed, like, alpha male character? I don't know, because he's also like a good being, but he's just so wrong on so many levels. But I love him. Anyway, changing my standards for a fictional characters I like, apparently. Okay, now we have The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang. This is the sequel to The Poppy War. The Poppy War also made my favorite books of 2018 list, and The Burning God is coming out in 2020, so maybe I have the whole trilogy in some of my favorite books for like the next 3 years. That'll be fun. The Dragon Republic was such a good sequel because the stakes are higher, the scale of conflict is higher, we get new developments into the world, we get to know more about the country the book is set in, and how the different relationships between different regions work, and how those politics work, how different regions of this country, because it's kind of based off China, so how all of this is working in terms of war, what the consequences of war are, like what does it mean for the people in the military, but also the people who are just citizens in this country, you know. A lot about war immigration as well, you know, because the war is going on, but no one wants to help the people who have to move because of the war and stuff like that. So there's just a whole lot going on. The friendship between Katai and Rin is just one of my favorite friendships. They are so here for one another even when they disagree. They love each other so much, and I just love them both very, very much. And the ending of that second book as well, I need the third book immediately. Then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Is this book a perfect book? I don't think so, but I just love it so very much because I have decided to project my whole personality on Eid, and that she is my new like token ethnically ambiguous fantasy character that I will take for myself and claim. I just really loved a lot of the things that happened in this book. I think that all the characters were very likable in very different ways, that all their struggles, all their decisions, even when they were bad decisions, made so much sense. That, I don't know, everything about it just spoke a lot to me. And then obviously we have dragons, talking dragons, so I also obviously loved that aspect very, very much. I liked the conflict that was going on, you know. I think that the last battle was kind of like rushed, and I mean, it's not that, it was kind of just underwhelming, but at the same time, I really didn't care much for the climax of the conflict, just because the rest of the book was so good, and I feel like at the end of the day, it wasn't about that final battle, and it wasn't about getting this conflict over with. It was kind of really about trying to get people together to work together. I really like flew through this book, and it's a huge book, so I don't know, there's just something about it that really gripped me, and I'm a bit mad that I can't really explain why, but it's there and it's going to stay there. Okay, then we have the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This book has so much going for it. The concept of this book just blows my mind away. The reveals in this book blew my mind away. The discussions, the issues brought up in this book blew my mind away. I don't have words to describe how good and how intricate everything in this book is. I think that the main topic of this book, though, is how ingrained prejudice is so hard to break out of. How even when you are the best at what you do, but people have prejudice against you, it doesn't matter, because you'll still be treated as lesser than what the people in power think they are. I think that it touches on so many subjects and topics in such a subtle but efficient and effective way that there is so much to take away. Like, my brain doesn't have the capacity to understand how everything in this book came together so perfectly and so well. I just love it a whole lot. I still need to read the other 2 books in the series, but I'm just still blown away. I read this in February and I'm still blown away by it. So, definitely one of my favorite fantasies that I've ever read. Okay, then the last book in this video is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Woo! I love this book so fucking much. This book is just so human, so compelling with its characters. I think that I love all of these characters so much with my whole heart. It was just so heartwarming to see them come together and just how they lived and cohabited together with their differences, and how them being together was just kind of meant to be. I don't know if it makes sense, but I feel like all of these characters and their personalities mesh so well together in a way that is very difficult, I think, to do, just because I think in a book with an ensemble cast like this, you have characters who are stronger than others in your mind and how much you love them and care for them. But with this book, it's very hard to not think of them all as a unit. And obviously they all have like their characteristics and their own relationships and dynamics going on. but the fact that they are all together in this book is just my heart. And this is a very quiet and hopeful and human book, and just very much about the human experience, even though there are other species rather than humans in this book, and I just don't have the words for it either, you know. And that's kind of how I can tell I love a book so much, is when I don't really have the words to describe them and how much they mean to me. But this was definitely a wild ride, and I'm glad I was finally along for the ride, you know. So yeah, that's it for today. I will see you later with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.